Even in defeat, there shall be an echo of glory, and that today was very true for Tottenham. I've just got back from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and wanted to share my thoughts on what was, in large, an outstanding performance from Spurs. And it feels weird to say when a team is beaten that they were brilliant, but when you look at the context of the challenges that faced Ange Postecoglou and his dogged dregs of what was left of Tottenham Hotspur, it really was impressive. And those echoes of glory came in many forms, and they give us much reason for optimism in the remainder of the season and moving forward with Spurs and Ange Postecoglou once this hump disappears. And those were the brilliant Archie Gray, playing out of position once again. You wouldn't believe he's a 17-year-old midfielder making his debut season in the Premier League. Tottenham have a potential future England captain on their hands there and a future captain of the club. And maybe, just maybe, if he keeps improving this way and our centre-backs come back to form, he might be that missing midfielder we've been so desperately looking for. And maybe those skills he's learning now as a centre-back in tackling and winning the ball are going to make him that monster six we so desperately need, and he could already be at the club. A big shout out to Dragusin as well, another echo of glory in the shame of form of him, because it was clear he was desperately unwell and wanted to fight for his manager and perform and play anyway, and he managed to push himself through 45 minutes of football. And to Djed Spence, a player reborn, brilliant, being made to play left back, right back and centre back over the course of 90 minutes for various reasons. He again held himself proud and the club proud. And Brandon Austin, your first ever Premier League debut for Spurs, Premier League game ever. You were brave and you stood your own in the face of one of the best strikers and midfields in world football. So well done to him too. There were others that deserve a huge mention. Dejan Kulusevski, wow, you are just always outstanding. I don't know how long he's going to be at Spurs for if this trajectory continues, but they've tied him down for at least 3 more years anyway. So whether you like it or not, Dejan, you're with us, so keep playing like you're playing, because you give that club a great foundation to build a new team around. There were others as well, I think, who deserve a huge mention. Dominic Solanke was excellent again. Yves Bissouma, when he came on, fought once again. But anyway, there were a number of echoes of glory today. But the one main takeaway for this from me was that the players are very much behind Ange Postecoglou, and they are going to fight for him with every last breath. And leading to that, it was a breath of fresh air in the stadium today. The main difference that I noticed in the atmosphere from this game to others, and I don't know why it was, perhaps it was different people being at the ground because some people who are disillusioned with the club right now weren't there, or maybe it was just everyone being behind the coach and understanding the challenges he now faces, but there was a unison, a willingness to spur on these players who are in really difficult scenarios. There was a cheer every time Brandon Austin won the ball. There was a huge cheer for his name as it came out. It was almost like a them versus us attitude that I think Spurs have desperately needed to show in the stadium since it's opened. Too often it's been groans and disappointment that we're not a club in the top 3 anymore, or the top 4 of the Premier League, challenging for titles or whatever your expectations may be. But this was a, you know what, this is a tough period. Let's be the 12th man on the field and give them everything. And the fans really did. So it was brilliant from the fans. They found a way, even those who, you know, desperately are against the leadership of the club in terms of the owners, etc. We don't go into that on here. But even they found their moment to make that clear. But they were still fully behind the players and the manager, and we did our jobs as fans today. It was a strange defeat. Ange is quite right in his words. It is one of the most painful defeats I've ever witnessed for Spurs anyway, and I think a lot of others in that ground, we felt the same way because we really deserved so much more. And this is now going to bring a completely irrelevant narrative to the media that what if Ange Postecoglou managed a game like Eddie Howe? Would we have won that despite Spurs, you know, their second goal being completely out of their control? It should have been ruled out. People will say, yes, it's not a deliberate handball, but if you're hand or arm moves the ball into the goal and results in a goal, you're not penalising the other player for that happening, but you rule out the goal. In the same way that it wouldn't be given as a penalty, but you would rule out the goal if that went in. And for some reason it wasn't, despite VAR being there to do its job, which it didn't once again. Well, look, it is what it is. Let's not cry over spilled milk. Let's move forward. We've got a huge game against Liverpool coming up. Now that's going to be really tough. A lot of us want to see players rested and rotated, but personally, I don't see it. Liverpool have Southampton coming up, as well as I believe a League One fixture in the Cup. So if they're going to rest players for those games, it's going to be for those, not versus Spurs in a semi-final. So there's going to be a full-strength Liverpool team. And Spurs showed today, though, that if they're really up for it, they can give anyone a game, even with 12 to 14 players missing. And there are players that are soon to return. But if Spurs can get through that Liverpool game with at least a goal in shot of the second leg, they've got hope with key players returning. And then they go to the Emirates for that real big challenge. If they can come out of there with a point, those players and Ange Postecoglou can hold their heads so high because they've come out of that tough period. And what's the point in worrying about a league position anyway right now? We're not going to be challenging for a title, so let's just focus on building the squad up for success. And the final echo of glory amongst all this is that despite this dogged, feels like a never-ending period, Spurs are going to come out of it with several players. We've almost forgot to mention Lucas Berrival, who was absolutely outstanding today. They have these core players now gaining first-team exposure in one of the toughest environments under a fantastic coach, who are going to still be within that squad when these key players come back. We now know so much more about this squad than we did. We've got this depth is so much stronger as a result of these players getting this exposure to the first team as well. So there are things to be optimistic about in this tough period. We just must remain unified behind our coach, unified behind our team. Just as the players are behind the manager, we must stand tall with him. We must rise above the media noise who comes from people who don't follow Spurs or understand the wider situation we're in, because this pain will make us stronger, will make us better, and set us up for something special in the future. Come on, you Spurs. The full podcast will be out tomorrow. This is a new format for members only. So if you want to be a member, sign up on YouTube here for memberships. But as this first episode of this post-match reaction, which will be a 7 to 10 minute reaction video to every video, often coming from the ground itself alongside other fans, it will eventually become a members only piece. But anyway, up the Spurs. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Spurs.